Today's tech news moves fast, but understanding it shouldn't be hard. That's why Snarful Solutions Group brings you Connecting the Dots, where we break down what's happening in tech and why it matters to you. Now, let's dive in with your hosts.
Welcome to Connecting the Dots. Broadcasting from Snarful Solutions Group in Sacramento, California, I'm Alex.
And I'm Morgan. We're really excited to get into today's tech news and see how it all impacts you.
Yeah, exactly. Today is Friday, August 14th, 2026. And before we get into the heavy tech stuff, let's take a quick look at the weather.
Yeah, if you're tuning in from here in Sacramento with us, it's actually a gorgeous day out there, mostly sunny, sitting right around 83 degrees.
And only a slight wind, too, like 3 to 10 miles per hour.
Yeah.
But nationally, it's a bit of a mess right now.
Oh, yeah. We are currently tracking 277 active U.S. weather alerts.
Right, and I think 227 of those are over land. So if you're hitting the road for a weekend trip, definitely check weather.gov before you head out.
For sure. And well, looking at the financial markets, it was kind of a mixed bag yesterday. The Dow Jones closed at $53,899.99.
So that's up, what, 11.44 points daily?
Right, but it's still down 9.27 for the week. The S&P 500 had a much stronger showing, though, closing at $7,798,000,099.
Nice, so that's up 35.81 daily and secured a solid 63.81 gain for the week.
Crypto took a pretty big hit today, though. As of this morning, Bitcoin closed at 62,659.04.
Ouch. Down 759.1 whole daily and a really massive 2,186.34 drop for the week. So we're definitely seeing a pullback there.
Which is, really interesting given the massive acceleration in the digital economy we're seeing right now.
Exactly. Because today, our mission is to give you a clear roadmap to some of the most dramatic shifts happening in tech right this second.
Right, we've got a lot to cover.
We do. We're exploring this high-stakes global AI arms race. We're looking at how enterprise tech costs are just absolutely plummeting, and we're exploring the complex reality of digital borders.
It's a fascinating lineup for the Morning Star report.
It really is. But we all need a boost of energy to keep up with how fast this tech is moving, so let's pay the bills first. Today's episode is brought to you by Strong Coffee, the premium instant coffee that tastes like a traditional brew, but is packed with 15 grams of protein, MCTs, and adaptogens like ashwagandha. Get clean, sustained energy without the jitters. Use promo code SNARFUL for 20% off at strongcoffeecompany.com. All right, so let's get right into the tech reports.
Yeah, let's unpack this first story because it sounds like something straight out of a cyberpunk thriller. We're looking at a major Chinese AI company called Z.ai.
Also known as Zipoo in the industry.
Right, Zipoo. And they just launched a new open weights model called GLM 5.3. And they're positioning it as a direct rival to U.S. models, like Anthropic's Mythos 5 and OpenAI's GPT 5.6 Solid.
And the craziest part is they are releasing the weights to the public in just 2 weeks.
Exactly. And, before we move on, let's clarify something. When we say open weights, what exactly are they giving away to the public? That's a really important distinction. In traditional open source, you just give away the code. But with a large language model, the true value is the millions of hours of training data.
So it's not just the framework.
No, the weights are essentially the artificial neural pathways the AI formed after studying all that data. It's memory, it's instincts. By releasing it as open weights, they're handing you a fully trained, hyper-intelligent brain.
Wow. Okay, so that context makes the performance numbers even wilder. There's this industry benchmark called CyberGym, which basically measures how well an AI can identify hidden security flaws in source code.
Right.
This new GLM 5.3 scored an 84.5%. That actually beats Mythos 5, which got 83.8, and GPT 5.6, Sol at 83.6.
So it's literally top of its class for defensive auditing?
Yeah. In real-world tests, it found 2,436 vulnerabilities, and 1,097 of those were rated medium or high severity.
That is a staggering amount of flaws to catch autonomous. I mean, doing that manually takes human experts days or weeks.
True, but I've got to push back a little on how effective it actually is, because there's another benchmark called Exploit Bench.
Ah, right.
And from what I understand, this one asks how well the AI can actually build an exploit and break into the system, not just find the flaw. And on that, the Chinese model totally stumbled. It only scored 54.4%.
Well, Mythos is sitting at 78% there.
Exactly. So it's great at finding the lock, but not so great at picking it. Still, we're talking about releasing an open weights cyber model to the entire internet. To me, that's like publishing the blueprint for a master lock-picking tool on the web.
It definitely carries some serious risks.
But here's what I don't get. If this model is so groundbreaking, why did Z.ai stock slide 4% today? I mean, their valuation dropped from $128 billion down to $75 billion.
Yeah, that is a massive haircut.
Are investors just being short-sighted here?
Not at all. It comes down to the brutal reality of compute economics. Building and running AI is just incredibly expensive.
Oh, absolutely.
And for a Chinese firm, those costs are compounded by geopolitics. Because of U.S. export limits, they had to finish a brand new data center and install 10,000 Chinese-made chips just to develop this model.
Wow, 10,000 chips. So their hardware overhead is just staggering.
Staggering. And then you have the inference costs, the computing power required every time a user runs the model. Industry analysts are looking at this and saying their inference costs are completely unsustainable right now.
So investors aren't spooked by the tech, they're spooked by the server bills.
Exactly.
Well, speaking of the massive unsustainable costs of running agentic AI, let's pivot and look closer at how one American giant is attempting to solve that exact problem for businesses.
Oh, you're talking about Google and Gemini 3.7 Flash?
I am. Google just dropped this bombshell, calling it their most intelligent workhorse model yet, and this is arriving just 3 weeks after 3.6 Flash.
Just 3 weeks? That is an insane turnaround time.
Right, and they priced it at 75 cents per million input tokens and 3.75 per million output tokens. Plus, they locked that pricing in through 2026.
Which is literally half the cost of the model they released less than a month ago.
Exactly. But despite the price drop, it is so much smarter. Let's talk about the benchmarks.
Yeah, let's look at Deep SWE. It went from 49% to 65.3%.
And what does Deep SWE actually test?
It tests how well an AI acts like a real software engineer, like independently finding a bug, rewriting the file, testing it, and finalizing the patch. Jumping to 65.3% means it can reliably act as a junior developer.
That's wild. And it's not just back-end coding. On Frontier Code 1.1, it jumped from 34.4% to 43.6%. On WebDev Arena, it hit a 1588 ELO score.
Completely outperforming the previous version in making web layouts.
Plus, if you work in finance or law, it's dominating document processing. On the GDP.PDF benchmark, it jumped to 34% up from 22%.
So I have to ask, are we witnessing the Moore's Law of AI happening in real time? We're getting much smarter models for half the price in just weeks. What does this mean for a regular small business?
It changes everything. Up until now, complex AI agents were something only massive tech conglomerates could afford to run. Because every step of a multi-step process burns tokens, right?
Precisely. But when you cut the token cost in half and make the model smart enough to not make mistakes halfway through, suddenly, complex automation workflows are economically viable for everyday businesses.
So you don't need a massive IT budget anymore.
Right. It democratizes the kind of operational efficiency that used to cost millions.
So Google is making incredible strides in making AI accessible and cheap. But there is one massive global market they're completely locked out of. And to reach those customers, you have to play by a totally different set of rules.
We are, of course, talking about China.
Right. And let's set the stage here and just be absolutely clear with you listening. We are purely reporting the facts of the market dynamics. We aren't taking sides on international trade or tech policies.
Absolutely. We are strictly neutral here, just looking at the reality on the ground.
And the reality is that major US AI models like Google Gemini, ChatGPT, and Claude are simply unavailable in China. So Apple has basically trained its own proprietary China-specific large language model.
Which is a monumental shift. And they just got regulatory approval from China's cyberspace regulator, making them the very first foreign company to offer a proprietary AI model there.
It's slated to launch in the coming months via an iOS update. And they aren't doing it alone. They're heavily relying on the Chinese tech giant Alibaba.
Yeah, they'll be using Alibaba's Qwen model. Apple even temporarily posted a Mac guide for Qwen before pulling it down, and they're using Baidu technology as well.
It's honestly like an automaker having to design an entirely separate engine and navigation system just to be legally allowed to drive their cars in one specific country.
That's a perfect analogy. And you might wonder why Apple, who is notoriously protective of their ecosystem, would partner with Alibaba instead of doing it all in-house.
Yeah, handing over part of the AI stack seems very uncharacteristic for them.
It comes down to the nightmare of real-time AI compliance. An AI generates novel text on the fly. Ensuring it doesn't violate stringent local censorship laws requires massive local server infrastructure and legal tuning.
So Alibaba already did the heavy lifting there.
Exactly. They've already spent billions navigating those specific rules.
And the prize for jumping through all those hoops is the iPhone 17. It's actually selling incredibly well in China right now. The market is just too lucrative to ignore.
They're totally willing to build a parallel AI ecosystem to secure that market share.
It's wild to see how adaptable these giants have to be.
It's just the cost of doing business in a segmented world.
It really is. Before we wrap up, a quick thanks to Old Glory, an iconic music and sports fan merch store, perfect for the techie in your life. Use promo code SNARFL for 15% off at oldglory.com.
So looking back at today's stories, you really get a sense of how multifaceted AI has become.
You really do. On one hand, you have AI becoming a highly specialized cyber weapon with Z.ai's new model.
Right, pushing the boundaries of network security, even if the server costs are terrifying their investors.
And then you have Google turning that same tech into an affordable, everyday business tool with Gemini 3.7 Flash.
Making it reliable and cheap for everyone.
But then our final story reminds us that no matter how advanced the tech gets, it's firmly tethered to political borders. Apple having to build a completely custom AI just for China proves that technology doesn't exist in a vacuum.
It's shaped entirely by the laws and culture of where it operates.
Which leaves us with a pretty heavy question to think about. If tech giants like Apple have to build completely separate AI brains to comply with different national laws, are we heading toward a future where the internet is permanently fractured?
That's a great question.
Right. Like, are we entering an era where your digital assistant has an entirely different worldview depending on what country you're standing in?
It certainly looks like the universal internet might be turning into a series of walled gardens.
We're here to help at Snarful, so reach out on our website if you have any more questions.
That's a wrap on today's top stories. Remember, tech doesn't have to be complicated, and we're here to help connect the dots. If you've got questions or want to learn more, visit us at snarful.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.